So I have a very toxic mom. She doesn't like me. It's because she loves my sister. She's the golden child and she's about to be married to some rich man. So my mom is basically backing her up on every single aspect of life. Well, guess what? Things don't exactly go in planned in this life. And now, you know what I'm going to do? Well, let me just tell ya. When parents have kids but choose to love one more child than the other kid or kids, what exactly do they hope to achieve? I mean, for years I suffered neglect from my own biological mom, and I always believed that she did not like me because I was different. It took me years to realize that no matter what I did to try to impress my mom, she would just not love me like she loved my younger sister. So, when I was 4 years of age, my mom divorced my dad and she took me away from him. At that age, I believed that my mom and dad never got along because my dad was the villain of the story. I didn't know that my mom was the toxic one. She abandoned my father when he needed her the most. So, I'll go ahead and give you guys a little rundown of how my mom and dad met. When my mom met my dad, he was working for a top-notch marketing company and he was doing very well financially. They dated for a couple of months and got married fast because my dad was madly in love and he believed my mom was everything he wanted in a woman. So, we're going to fast forward now 3 years after they married. Things started to fall apart for my dad, and unfortunately, he lost his job. After he lost his job, things got so bad that he could not afford to pamper and spoil my mother like he used to. That was when she changed. She began to complain, she nagged him, and a couple of months down the line, she divorced him and left with me. This alone broke my father, but my mom did not care much about him. She was only there for what he could offer. So, after my mom left with me, she made me believe that my dad no longer loved us and could no longer take care of us. So, she had to find somebody else, and I was still very young then and could barely understand anything. All this while things were bad for my dad? I didn't know that my mom had been cheating on him, and the reason she really wanted to leave him was so that she could go be with her new lover. Yeah, like my dad, things turned sour for her lover, my stepfather. A couple of years later, and Mom did what she did with my dad. She left. She didn't just leave alone. Well, she had given birth to my stepsister, Selina, and she got the man to pay child support while she took Selina with her. It was through the child support she received from my dad and Selina's dad that she used it to raise us as a single mom. Now, if we were just being raised by my mom alone, I don't think I would be making this post. The reason I'm sharing this here today is because through so much I want you all to understand why I turned my back on her when she needed me. Shortly after Selina was born, I noticed that my mom began to neglect me more to spend time with Selina. And as Selina grew older, she and my mom had an inseparable bond. Before Selina was born, my mom and I didn't really have that mother-daughter bond. Maybe it was because we both had different personalities and she didn't really like my personality much. So, as a child, she used to complain a lot that I was dull, slow-witted, and boring. You can't blame me. I grew up in a house where my mom and dad argued most of the time, and she was always more concerned about her spa appointments, her manicure, her pedicure, etc., and barely spent time with me. I could not even cry as a child without being scolded, abused, and spanked. So I grew into my own shell and became that quiet child. Most times, if she tried to start a conversation with me and I did not respond the way that she wanted, she would flare up or yell at me and call me names. But when Selina was born, she became the perfect child for my mom. They talked about everything and anything, and most times they would purposely leave me out of their conversations. So I literally grew up alone in our house, and I didn't have that sister-to-sister bond with Selina because my mom had told her so many negative things about me. There's no need to ask if Selina grew up to be like Mommy Dearest, because she did. Even as a young teenager, she had her eyes out for the big stuff. She always wanted these expensive shoes, expensive bags, and clothing, and in school, she hung out with girls who were just like her. Selina did not just hang out with any kind of boys. She only dated the boys whose parents were filthy rich. so she could benefit from them, and she carried on like this till she became an adult. While I finished high school and continued with college, Selina refused to go to college. My mom had told her that she did not really need college because she had such a pretty face and could easily end up with a rich man of her choice. And you know what, guys? Selina actually bought this lie. That's right, she believed it. Well, anyways, back in college, I struggled as much as I could to see myself through because my mom simply did not care very much about me. The only thing she cared about was the monthly money that she received from my dad, and when the money stopped coming, she became very nasty towards me. She did not contribute a penny to college, and each time I asked if she could help, she would just tell me to drop out if I wanted, that she had no business with me going to college. Funny enough, each time that she said that I only got motivated to complete the college course and prove to her I don't need her help. So, aside from my mom and Selina being abusive and always downgrading me, they were very annoying too. Since I went to college from home, so many times I would return home to meet a messy house, and she and Selina would leave the whole house for me to clean up. They would deliberately mess up the kitchen, knock down flour if they were baking, and pile up dirty plates and other things for me. And if I refused to clean it up, she would threaten to kick me out of the house. This continued for a while until I could not take it anymore. I was forced to move out of the house to live temporarily with my dad. Well, thank goodness my dad's wife was very accommodating, and she even treated me better than my own biological mother did. At my dad's house, cleaning was optional. I never returned to see a pile of plates from my stepmom or step-siblings waiting for me to do them. All this while, I was struggling to see myself through college. My mom had taught Selina how to lie, how to manipulate, and sleep with men to get things that she wanted. And she pushed Selina to jump from one rich man to another. So while Selina would be the one lying to these rich men for money, my mom would be at home enjoying the benefits of her labor. If I tried to talk to Selina and to stop doing her modernized, work, my mom and Selina would join forces and rain abuse on me. They would call me names like good-for-nothing Ugly Betty, and they would say that I live a poor, miserable life just because I was dumb and slow-witted, and they would laugh at me. It got to the point where I had to stop interfering in Selina's life, and I focused on myself. A few years later, I contemplated college, and I got a good-paying job in my hometown. My new job allowed me to support my father in the ways that I could, and I was able to get my own apartment a month after I started working. So after I moved into my new apartment, I visited my mom and Selina on one of my free weekends and told them about my little apartment. I honestly thought that hearing something like that would make my mom proud of me, since it was the first thing I was able to do on my own without any sort of assistance, but boy, I could not have been more wrong. When my mom and Selina asked to see pictures of the apartment I rented, well, I showed it to them, and guess what? They absolutely bust out in some crazy laughter. Oh, man. It was horrible. And they told me that my apartment looked like a poverty-stricken apartment, and it was giving that 70s show vibe. They abused my sense of decor and asked if I picked them out of charity donation boxes. I'd never felt so embarrassed in all my days. And to date, I can never forget the look upon their face. Selina even made it worse. She said that she would not even let her dog live in a boring apartment like mine, and that I should wait and see the apartment her new boyfriend would be renting for her. Well, you know what, guys? I'll admit, my apartment was not very fancy, and the decor was not as flashy as the ones we have in recent homes. But I was content with it, and I loved everything about my decor. I've never become someone who likes bright, shouty colors. I prefer for them to be calm, soothing, and that's why I used what I used in my apartment. After all their insults that day, I didn't say anything to them. I just tried to hold in my anger all throughout dinner, and I left my mom's house earlier than I planned. Precisely 2 weeks after I visited them, my mom called me and told me that they had moved to a new apartment and that she wanted me to come and see it. Selina's new boyfriend had rented a very nice, fancy 2-room apartment for Selina, and guys, I will be honest, The apartment was absolutely breathtaking. That was the first day I met Selina's boyfriend. He was a man in his early 50s, and immediately I saw how Selina was all over him. I knew she didn't love him. She was just there for the benefits, and she was ready to do anything to keep those benefits coming. My mom liked Selina's boyfriend too, and she treated him with so much respect and would even laugh at his dry jokes. Ugh, it was so cringe. Well, while we were at the house drinking and getting to know ourselves, Selina said that she had an important announcement to make, and she told us that she and her boyfriend were getting married. Wow. Then she revealed the big diamond ring she had been wearing. That came as a big surprise for me because she had barely known that man for 6 months. My mom was the happiest in the room, and when I congratulated Selina, my mom hushed me and told me to stay quiet. In front of Selina's boyfriend, she told me that I should be ashamed that my young sister was getting married before me, and I didn't even have a boyfriend. She wanted to say something else, but Selina's boyfriend was smart enough to cut in and change the topic. Her boyfriend had seen the change in my face, and he knew I was getting very upset. Well, to cut the story short, Selina and her boyfriend married 2 months after, and Selina did not include me in her wedding planning. She told me to my face that I had nothing to offer, so it would be stupid of her to add me to the wedding list. As if that wasn't enough, when I asked if I could be one of her bridesmaids then, she said no. Her reason for saying no was that the fabric was too expensive, and that there's no way I would even be able to afford it. Also, she said she didn't want me to bring my dull spirit and ruin her wedding. So, I ended up not attending her wedding because I could not stand all of the insults. My friends kicked against the idea of my attending Selina's wedding, and I'm glad I listened to them. I'm so sure my mom and Selina did not notice I wasn't even there. Well, and they didn't even care to ask why. I was smart enough to keep my distance from them, and I stopped going to all the family gatherings since they deliberately made me a laughingstock in the presence of all my in-laws. Well, for months I simply just stayed away from Selina and my mom, until last Christmas. 2 days into Christmas Eve, my mom called to inform me that they were hosting a small get-together party and she wanted me to be there. Well, since Selina was now married, my mom was the only one who lived in that fancy apartment, and Selina's husband continued to pay the rent. After deliberating, I decided to go to the party, and I bought a $400 purse for my mom. That was the most expensive gift I've given to anyone. Even though I was still mad at my mom for all the insults, abuses, and neglect, a part of me still had that soft spot for her. You know, I don't know. I was just desperately yearning for her love and acceptance. So, on D-Day, I wrapped up the gift and took it with me. On getting to my mom's apartment, Selina and her husband were already there, and 2 of Selina's close friends were there as well. So, my mother had cooked different meals and the table was set. So all I had to do was sit and she served me. The last time Selina had seen me was the day that she told me I could not join her bridal train. And Mom had not seen me in months either. We all pretend like everything was cool and nobody even talked about the wedding. Then after eating, my mom asked to unwrap the gifts that we have brought for her, right? So, get this. The first gift she unwrapped was the gift from Selina and her husband, and it was a very expensive piece of jewelry. She wore it on her neck and danced around, and when she was done, she opened my gift, and the minute she saw the purse, she turned to Selina, and everybody in the room, except Selina's husband, burst into a loud laughter. "What's this?" she asked as she looked at the bag, and I was so embarrassed she said that I bought her a knockoff purse, and I wasn't ashamed to wrap it up and bring it to her home. While she was talking, Selina and her friends had taken pictures of the bag, and they were just giggling and looking at me. Then my mom looked me in the eyes and said that I was nothing more than an embarrassment to her, and she was so ashamed to be my mom. She even went on to compare me to the gift, to Selina's gift, and she called it a cheapskate's bag. Then said that she, ever since she gave birth to me, that I've been in a pain in the butt, and I was exactly like my poverty-stricken, miserable father. Immediately she mentioned my dad. My head almost absolutely exploded, and for the first time I confronted her. So I told her to never mention my father again, and I called her a certain word. Well, she was absolutely shocked, guys, and, well, everyone else in the room was as well. Instead of remaining quiet like I expected, she got onto the offensive and said that I would die poor and continue to drive the 20-year-old truck I drove because I was full of bad luck. So she used the opportunity to abuse my apartment again. She abused my career and the clothes that I wore and said so many demeaning things. I was angry, and I didn't even remember when I snatched the purse from them and walked out of her apartment. As I walked out, my mom and Selina laughed at me, and Mom even said, "Don't worry, she's going to be back. Didn't I tell you she would show up today?" That was how I knew that my mom had bedded with Selina, and I didn't even know that. The main reason I honored her invitation was that I felt bad for being away from them for so long, not knowing that they didn't really care about me as much as I cared about them. Since that day, I never reached out to my mom again, and none of them reached out to me either. Concerning the picture of the bag that Selina took, she posted it to her Instagram with pictures of me, and her caption said, "See what dumb sister got mom for Christmas? Behold the latest edition of Gucci." Her friends who were in the house, they commented too on the post. They mocked me. That day, I unfollowed Selina on Instagram and other mutual social platforms. Then I told my dad everything that happened, and he told me to just keep ignoring them and focus on my life. So, just 3 days ago, I was at work when I checked my phone, and I saw I had 15 missed calls from my mom. 15. The last time I'd seen her was on Christmas Day, and a month had gone by, so when I saw all those calls, I was worried something bad happened. After work, I called her back, and she answered immediately. She told me, and I quote, "There's fire on the mountain, Sarah, and we need your help." The first thing that came to my mouth was, "We?" And she said yes. She said Selina had a fight with her husband, and he kicked her out of the house. He also kicked my mom out of her fancy apartment, and so they had no place to stay. I was confused for a minute because Selina's husband looked like a very calm man, and he must have been very upset before he did something like this. When I found out that it wasn't an emergency situation as I feared, I asked her why she was calling me, and her response was, "You're the only one who can help us." Well, we have no one to call. That was very hilarious coming from her, and I ensured that I laughed my heart out. I told her she must have been dreaming to think that I would house her after all the insults had rained on me, and I just hung up the phone. Since then, she and Selina have been blowing up my phone with calls, voicemails, text messages. It's been days now, and I kind of feel bad for them. At the same time, I cannot forget all the abuse, humiliation, and insults I got from them. So, the question I come here to ask you guys. Am I the a-hole for hanging up on my mom and turning my back on them now that they need me? I look forward to the comments and suggestions. Thank you. What's up, everybody? Mr. Reddito here. So we do have multiple updates to jump into, and the first update has some action-packed punches to it. Anyways, if you're not subscribed to the channel, guys, take a second, hit that subscribe button, and let's go ahead and jump in to update number 1. Hello guys, thank you so much for your warm comments. Yes, for those of you asking, my mom was never a part of my life. Aside from being a figurehead and answering the name Mom, she never really contributed anything to my life. I grew up figuring out so many things on my own despite having a mom. I remember how much I struggled in college and was at the edge of dropping out because the bills were choking me. All through my struggles and working 2 jobs to keep the money coming, my mom was more concerned with wearing expensive brands and living this lavish lifestyle with her Selina. Even Selina's dog enjoyed more than I did, and I'm so sure my mom loved that dog more than she loved me. It's quite funny because it's the same house Selina said that she would never let her dog live in, and they're asking me to take them in. Some of you are asking if I know what Selina did for her husband to kick her out of the home. No, I don't. I haven't seen them face to face, and I hope that I don't. Anyways, my friend suggested that I just block my mom and Selina's numbers. I did it, but I'm suspecting that there are the ones calling me with strange numbers all day. Thought that I was feeling awful for not helping them out until somebody pointed out that I've been a doormat if I let my mom and sister use me again. So, I no longer feel pity for them, and I'm sure that they have tons of places they can go and crash at. Selina has a lot of rich girlfriends, including the ones that joined her in embarrassing me, so she could always just call any of her girlfriends up to help her out. I told my dad that my mom had called, and the first thing he asked was, "Well, I hope you didn't agree to help them." Yeah, my dad knows my mom so well, and at least he lived with her for 3 years, and he knows that the only reason my mom called me despite all those things that she said to me is because she wants my help. She had not called me my daughter in years, but because she needed my help that day, she remembered that I've been her daughter all along. Yeah, how typical. I can't thank you guys enough for all your comments. I was feeling like a horrible daughter. But you've all made me feel better, like someone here said. An absentee mom deserves an absentee child, and I could not agree less. I'll make another update soon, guys. Thank you all. Update number 2. Hey guys, so, thank you so much for the non-stop comments. It really feels good to know that you're supporting me. So one comment really stood out from my last update, and the person suggested that I take my mom's call and find out why Selina's husband kicked them out of the house. Not really because I care about them, but so we could have something to laugh about here. It sounded petty, but I liked it. Yesterday, my mom called again as usual, and out of the kindness of my heart, I picked up her call. LOL. I pretended like I was concerned about them and even faked an apology. Cooked up some stupid story about mistakenly wiping out my phone's memory and lost their number in the process. My mom fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. And, well, she said that they were sleeping in a cheap motel and she could not last another day there. She said the motel bed had bed bugs and her skin had turned red already. Since my mission was to find out why Selina's husband kicked Selina out of the house, I just asked my mom, and after beating around the bush a bit for minutes, she finally opened up. She said Selina's husband caught Selina flirting with another man, and when he dug deeper, he found out that Selina has been having an affair with that man, and out of anger, he kicked Selina out of the house and kicked my mom out of her fancy apartment too because he was still the one paying the rent. Worse was, Selina and my mom had squandered all the money that they got from him on shopping and this lavish lifestyle. So, they did not have any savings left because none of them expected such a thing to happen. Well, to be honest, I don't feel bad for Selina or my mom at all. In fact, I think that they got what they deserved. How could Selina do such a thing to her husband after all that kind man had done for her? I know my mom had a hand in Selina cheating on her husband too. She must have pushed her to have an affair with another man, so they could both have their cake and eat it too. Right now, they're both in a cheap motel and they're expecting their dumb daughter and sister to come move them to my house. Well, you know what? Oh, I forgot. Also, drive them in the same 20-year-old truck that they abused. Selina's husband was so mad that he got his car from Selina and cut off all the benefits that they used to receive from him. I don't blame him, because I would have done the same thing if I were in his shoes. It's even a good thing he found out that he was married to a greedy snake in less than a year of their marriage. So, that's it, guys. Tea has been served, piping hot, and I've made my mom believe that I will come to their rescue. Well, until then, let the bedbugs continue to feast on their soft skin. Thank you so much for bringing out this side of me that I never knew I had. I will make another update soon. Final update. Hey guys, there's a popular phrase that says revenge is best served cold. And that's exactly how I love mine. Straight out of the freezer. You guys are asking if I really want to help my mom and Selina. No, I would never do such a thing, not after all that they've done and said. I just want them to have a taste of their own medicine, and because of that, I had to lead them on. So, the first day I told Mom that I would come and get them was a Friday, and that whole weekend, I ditched them and did not take their call or even respond to their messages. On Monday, I called my mom myself and told her that I had gone and gotten an impromptu business meeting during the week, and that was why they could not reach me. I asked them to text me the location of the motel, and I assured them that I would come and get them straight after work. So, That Monday evening, I deliberately put my phone on silence, and I just went to have my nails done. I'm not really a fan of artificial nails, but figured, hey, the kind of self-care would suit the moment more, which I was just busy loving myself, as my mom often called it. I watched both Selina and my mom give me 20 missed calls. Well, they called and called until they got tired, and I loved it. On Tuesday evening, I called and apologized and told them I was so sorry, and I promised to come and pick them up the next morning before leaving for work. They sounded desperate, and they told me that they could no longer afford to stay in the hotel, and that if I did not come that day, they would be thrown out. LOL. Well, the next morning till noon, they called and called till they got tired. Then my mom sent a picture of their luggage outside the motel, and she said that I was the only one there that they could depend on. It turned out that none of Selina's friends agreed to help. And since they were fair-weathered friends, they abandoned Selina because she no longer had what they wanted. After work that day, I called my mom and told her I saw the pictures, and I'm sorry that they got kicked out. I knew that she was at the edge of exploding, but she could not do that because she needed something from me, right? From the way she sounded over the phone, it was obvious that she had enough of me. So she asked, "Are you really going to come get us, or have you just been messing with us?" I laughed. I said, "It took you this long to figure that out?" Well, she flared up immediately, and she didn't even have the slightest patience with it. She called me names and said that it would have been better if I died in her womb, so she knew that she only had one child. I just kept laughing, and all I said was, "Then consider me dead." I ended the phone call. She called me several times after that, but I blocked her number too. Alright, so we know how the story ended. OP basically refused to help at all. There were some comments that I was reading that was saying, you know what, at the end of the day, OP was treated very poorly by OP's sister and OP's mom. Okay, we know that. But there were also some comments that say it doesn't matter how she was treated. OP should have realized at the end of the day, this is family, and those two people were really struggling. They were living on the streets, kicked out of their motel, and they had nobody to turn to except for OP. And the reason I don't agree with that comment is because it's silly. Just because they're family doesn't mean you have to help them out when they made your life absolute nightmare. We're talking about they're making fun of you, they're being toxic. Basically, you're a laughing joke to them. So when OP gets the ability to turn it around on them, I don't know why people were upset about it in the comment section. Anyways, in my opinion, I do not think OP is the a-hole, but I do want to know what you guys are thinking about it, so drop it down below. Let's talk about it, guys. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow, and of course, remember, it's cool to be kind. See ya.